Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we're going to be doing another manga review. Today we're going to be looking at Blue Lock, and we're going to be looking at the first selection arc. However, I'm going to be talking about the first half of it, because I don't have access to volumes 4 and 5 yet. I haven't bought them, and I want to switch over to physical editions of this manga, so I'm not actually going to buy them until they release physically, which is probably not going to be for a long time here. I'm pretty sure they will release sometime next year. So what happens is that I'm only going to be talking about the first half of the arc so that, one, I can get an extra video out, but also because I think it's really interesting and I'm really hyped to talk about it right now. So we're going to be talking about volumes 2 and 3, and then the second half is going to be volumes 4 and 5, right? So we'll get to that when they eventually come out. So, yeah, I'm not going to mention any of the other book facts because, you know, you should watch my first video and my second video on Blue Lock before you watch this one, where I mentioned that several times, so there's no need for me to talk about that yet. Let's jump right into the premise, and then I'll talk about the rating, and then I'll talk about the actual plot points here. So, right off the bat, the premise is that basically the finale of the intro arc, which is the first volume, leads into the first round-robin tournament that is supposed to be the first selection, right? So, the first selection is when they decide which teams get to stay after this first round of retirement from the program, right? And they kind of do this, and we get to see a segment of 3 of the 4 matches that the team, which is Team Z, have to fight in their Blue Lock block, which is really interesting. So in terms of a rating, it's a 5 out of 5 so far, because every match has been super interesting, super cool. This is basically like edgy Haikyuu with like soccer instead of volleyball, and I quite like that. I'm also mentioning Haikyuu a lot because even though I'm recording these right now and they're going to come out next week, by the time that happens, I've already read Haikyuu, right? So I actually finished reading the second arc of Haikyuu a few days ago, and I'm really interested in Haikyuu right now, so I'm mentioning it a lot in terms of other, sports manga because it just seems relevant. But yeah, it's a very edgy Haikyuu. Haikyuu is all about the games. There really is no time for anything else, and that is more or less what this arc also feels like. So, yeah, really, really enjoyable so far. In terms of a plot line here, we get to see 3 matches, like I said. The first match actually ends in a loss, which is interesting, and it's actually because each of these matches is supposed to be imparting a lesson, right? So the first lesson is to find your weapon, your unique skill, what you're best at as a player, and use it with your team. And it's really, really interesting because the overarching point of this arc is to remake soccer in the mind of the players. These players are used to positions and are actually so used to those positions that they kind of get blocked out about everything else. However, Ego wants them to learn that it's about everyone going for the goal. It's not just about the striker waiting for it, right? So that's kind of what their goal is here. They find their weapons, and Isagi actually doesn't really understand what his is yet, and that's what match 2 is about, right? So they end up winning this one, and Isagi learns that his skill is an intuitive knowledge about where the goal is going to go, where the goal is going to come from, which you could just say is, the ability to read the field. They call it smelling a goal, which is interesting, and, this skill shows up, and then they get the win, which is really, really good. And then match 3 actually ends up in a tie, and there's a lot of betrayal and a lot of hype due to this this match. So I'm not going to talk about the betrayal specifically, but it's just really, really great stuff. I really, really enjoyed it. Overall, it was really great stuff. There was a lot of hype and excitement with a lot of development. It's just really, really good. There's a lot of high stakes, and I really enjoy that because it feels like any time that they do anything, it could be a loss, and that loss is going to end the series, and it's so, so good. There's a lot of tension that way, which is really great. Yeah, in terms of characters, we get to learn a lot more about a lot of them. So Isagi is still the main character. Bachira still is basically the secondary character. There's this guy called Kunigami, who I can't remember exactly what he does. I think he's the third character that is actually nice to Isagi. He actually becomes nice after the first match because he helps. He realizes that Isagi helped him. There's also Kuon, and I don't really remember too much about Kuon. So I'll skip over him. But I think the next most important character is probably Chigiri, who happens to be, if I remember correctly, the guy that is really silent. They call him the princess because he's just a really, snowy kind of guy. And it turns out that he actually has a really important reason why he's like that, and this means immense fear. And he actually managed to overcome that, and he's like super fast, and it's really, really cool. I really enjoy that character a lot. Then there's a lot of bad guys here. We have Okowa / Nico, who are the bad guys from the first match. We have the Wanami twins, which are Okowa and Nico are the bad guys from the second match. The Wanami twins are the bad guys from the third match, and Baru, who happens to be the bad guy from the first match. And Baru, I would say, is actually the most important antagonist because he's the one that teaches Isagi what Ego was trying to tell them to learn, which is really, really good. I really enjoy the development of the characters and how they connect with each other and what happens with them. And it's really, really well done. Like, I really enjoy how all of these characters interact and kind of coexist and become cohesive entities. It's really, really good. In terms of world building, there really isn't much, but we get a lot of the development of the Blue Lock program, like what the hell they're doing, why things happen the way they are, what the hell Ego is trying to tell them, why they have to do this. It's really, really good. It's a lot of very sensical things, like within the context of the world. It's really interesting. I can't remember if it's in this part or earlier, where Ego gives them the speech about how the point is to create strikers and how Japan lacks this because culturally they are very much people that are interested in the good of the whole of the society, and so they're very willing to give up and sacrifice their own personal glory for the glory of the group. And this actually is counterintuitive for strikers. And so, they're actually very good at being midfielders and the defense, because that is kind of what the defense and midfielders do. They sacrifice their own glory to pass the ball forward to get it to the striker, right? So it's a really interesting kind of concept. I can't remember if it's in this part or earlier in the story that they talked about it, but either way, it's really resonating with me. Not in like a, oh, that's so true kind of way, more in just like, oh, that's a really interesting thing to think about, right? So I like that. I thought it was really good. In terms of the artwork, again, it's glorious. It's so, so good. The effects on the characters are really great. The way that their eyes change when they're really excited or when they're really in the zone is really great. We get to see inklings of this kind of like metaphorical, kind of dramatic version of the character representations. We don't get to see any animals or anything yet, but I feel like they're coming. I feel like we get to see Isagi's kind of demon devil, like his inner like ego kind of coming alive a little bit through the artwork, and it's really, really great. In terms of fan service, I think this is the part where I was talking about in the last review, where in the first volume, in the second volume or the third volume, I can't remember exactly, there is this fan servicey moment, which really isn't fan service if you're an adult, but like for a teenage boy, I'm pretty sure it kind of feels like fan service. And it's Henri Teria, like the female character. She's wearing a really tight like soccer shirt and wearing like short shorts or something like that. It's just really well drawn. Like, I really enjoyed it. Like, I realize that I say that it's not important and then I keep focusing on it, but it's just really well drawn, and it's kind of fan servicey, and some people might not like that. There's also some moments where we get to see her like butt, I guess. She's like cleaning something off the floor, and then it's like there's comments about it. So, if you don't like stuff like that, definitely stay away from this. It's not really that important. I would definitely say that you can probably, push through it and it won't really bother you, but it's there, it's noticeable. And so that's why I wanted to mention it in case anyone is, against that type of thing. But for me personally, I think it's fine. I actually quite like it. The way that she's drawn is really, really good. Just appreciating the artwork itself is great. The fact that it's also a really cute pinup of this pretty female character is just great as well. In terms of a rating, like I said, it's a 5 out of 5 so far. I'm really, really excited about this story. I really enjoy everything that's going on. And I can't wait for match 4 because it's like a very harsh moment that's going to go on with these characters. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about Blue Lock, first selection arc. And, yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later.